Well, this is not what was expected today. Our pantry shelves, this top one collapsed and took the bottom one with it. So on today's list is a pantry clean out and reorganization. Happy 2026. Hey guys, Katie here with Frugal Level Leftovers. This is not how we planned to start our 2026 pantry challenge, our use it up meal planning system here, but as you saw in the intro, all of these shelves fell down last night, and so everything came tumbling down with it. So I do have a whole bunch of stuff here on the floor. So all of this stuff needs to get put back on the shelves. Good as time as any to organize and take note of the things that we have. Very similar to the Three Rivers Homestead challenge, we are going to be focusing on using up food that we have and doing a minimal spend for at least the beginning of 2026, ideally for the entirety of 2026 as we work to cut down debts and finances and things like that. So thanks for joining me. We're gonna get into stocking things back up here, and I'm also going to create a spreadsheet of sorts to help track the inventory that I have, and I will share that with you in a link down in the description below, so be sure to check that out. You can get it for free and see if that helps you in doing your pantry challenge this year. Okay, so we've got this situated here. It's looking much better than it was. Way less packed. A few things did go down to the basement, but honestly, not a lot. There were a few things also that I did end up throwing away because we don't eat them or they were expired, but this looks much better than what it did at the beginning of the day. So now I did start by writing things down in my computer, but now that I've kind of gone through and gotten rid of some things and whatnot, it's going to be a little bit easier actually to now go through and notate everything I have. Okay, even the door is organized. So we've got it all organized, cleaned the bottom there, and it's all written into a spreadsheet. Well, I know I'm gonna probably get some flack for this, but since we are tidying up, you know, the pantry and whatnot, figured I would also take this time to start tidying up Christmas decor. Yes, it's only a couple days past New Year's. I am going to leave the lights up because I do like the lights that are in our kitchen and the floral that's above our windows in the kitchen. But all of this kind of like big stuff, I'm going to pack it away. It was definitely a short season this year. But I'm okay with that. I think I need some breathing room, less things to clean around, and yeah, it's just always nice to have kind of like a fresh slate going, okay? Yeah. Good morning, friends. Okay, so we got the kitchen, everything kind of tidied up yesterday, that pantry taken care of. So this morning we're gonna make a mess and we're gonna do some meal prep based on those things that I found in the pantry. And so one place that I have a hard time with sticking to goals or, resolutions, if you want to call them that, is breakfast, because I am not a morning person. And so I have a tendency, especially if I'm being woken up early by the kids, which does happen. My kids get up very early, like very, very early. And they'll wake up and I get them peanut butter sandwich, things like that. And so then I end up just kind of like munching on that as I'm drinking my coffee. My brain is just not awake for me to be able to make the best decisions for myself. So I don't really want to make eggs ahead of time. That's not something that I'm looking to do. I don't think that they keep very well in the fridge, and then they don't reheat the best, in my opinion. I'd rather just make them fresh. But what I am going to do is make some chia seed yogurt parfaits. And these, I have so many chia seeds in my pantry. And I did get some milk kefir at the store the other day. And this is probiotics, and it's got berry, like mixed berry flavor. So I think we're going to have some really delicious flavoring in there. Plus I do have collagen, and I've had that for a very long time. And again, I never remember to put it in. So we're going to make some pudding cups here, or yogurt cups, get these in the fridge for the week ahead, and we're just going to try it 1 week at a time and see what happens. And my kids can absolutely have these as well. I don't think they're really going to want them, but who knows, maybe they'll surprise me. My daughter might actually like them. She likes smoothies and things like that. Let's see what we can get into our mason jars here. Okay, so I'm going to do a cup of, maybe we'll do 3/4 cup. 3/4 cup in each one, because I am adding some things, and the chia seeds will expand. I also want to try and make this kefir last as long as possible. We are definitely on a budget and a use it up type of a season, so I want to make sure that I can kind of stretch these things. Let's see, how much do I have left here? Okay, so you're going to put about 3/4 cup to a cup of this milk kefir into each mason jar. Then we're going to do a tablespoon of chia seeds in each one. Again, using up some of these ingredients that we have, and these are good ingredients, likely from the last time I was on some sort of a health kick. And then, of course, they got forgotten about in the pantry. Maybe I got textured out. But we're going to make it work and try again. Oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna call that a half. It's also dump day, so if I can use some things up and get them in the trash before my husband goes to the dump, well, then that's even better, right? Okay, so I still have plenty of chia seeds left, but we did end up using one of the containers. Okay, now we're going to do collagen, and I'm just going to do a tablespoon in each one. My friend Jamarelle has started doing these as well. She's doing more collagen. I'm not doing this for the same reason that she's doing. So I am just going to do a tablespoon. I want to see how the texture kind of plays out here. Since I'm thinking of it right now, I am going to put some collagen in my coffee because I've had one coffee this morning. So let's get our other one going. Usually I have 2 cups. So we're going to add our collagen to this. I never even looked at this before to see like how many tablespoons was a serving. So I think I've been doing like way less. And I didn't realize it until I saw Jamarelle in one of her videos talking about it. I was like, oh, okay. We need to increase the collagen a bit. I'm going to add a sprinkle of cinnamon to each one. Need to get some honey. You could do honey or maple syrup. Maybe I'll do maple syrup for this one, since I have it right here. I don't want a ton of sugar, but I do like the natural sugar. I have no idea how sweet the kefir is. I probably should have tried it, but that's okay. We're just gonna do like just a very minute drizzle. I mean, that's maybe a teaspoon. Okay. I wish I had almonds. I have pecans, but I don't want to put pecans in this. But I do love almonds, especially when I have oatmeal or chia seed, things like that. I like the texture, the crunch, and the kind of muted flavor that it has. So that's all I'm going to put into these. I want to see how much it expands. Because like I said, those chia seeds will expand a bit as they sit. I'll probably have one later. Probably by the time I get done, actually, I've got a few things I want to put together for lunch, dinner, just kind of cooking, getting things put away, or used up rather. So I think probably by the time I am done doing that, one of these will be ready to eat. And I do plan to have a kiwi. That's one of the things that I've listened. I like listening to Mel Robbins' podcast, and she has some really amazing experts on there. One of the things that was said in one of the episodes, I'll try to link it below if I remember, is eating a kiwi every day, just one kiwi. And so I did the other day. I had to grocery shop for the month because we are not getting paid for the next 3 weeks or so. So I got all the things that hopefully we will need, and if not, well, too bad. But so I got 21 kiwis so that I could have one every day for the next 3 weeks until we get paid again. And you know, right now I'm in a season of doing everything I can to help me emotionally and mentally. So Living in Maine in the winter can be tough. So we've got a happy lamp, we've got the kiwi. Oh, I should be adding, I'll have to add a piece of chocolate to my coffee, because that's another thing that same video said to do, was to have like high quality chocolate. Just a piece of dark chocolate, adding it to your coffee can make a huge difference. Has health benefits, mental and physical. So the more we can kind of plan out, the better, right? I don't have a ton of these, but I do have one, so maybe that's one I'll save for today. I have these canning lids. These will all go into the fridge and then be used later in the week. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prep a bunch of brown rice to cook in the Instant Pot. Not the Instant Pot, the slow cooker. Again, something that my friend Jamarel just did. And I was like, oh, I did not realize that you could cook a whole bunch of rice in the slow cooker. That's something I've never done before. We have 4 bags of this brown rice. I need to see how many cups is in each bag. We're gonna give them a rinse and then kind of go from there to see how much we're going to use. I feel like some of my rice is falling out of my strainer. Oh yeah. Okay, so we've got about 2 cups in each bag. My strainer is not as fine as the one that Jamarel was using, so my rice is falling out. So we're gonna have to do it a different way. All right, so I guess I'm gonna start with 2 of these bags. You want to rinse until the water is clear. This one is actually almost clear already. Usually it takes, 4 rinses or so, but this is actually very good, very good. I'm gonna end up adding in a little bit of extra water, and that's okay. I'd rather have a little bit of water in here instead of getting all this rice down the drain. Now we're gonna add in some of our homemade chicken stock. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, I am going to add in a little bit of salt because I know that chicken stock doesn't really have any in it. I'm also going to add in some collagen to this. This chicken stock doesn't look to have a ton, and since my kids will be eating this as well, and I mean this is going to make 4 cups of rice, so it's not going to be crazy when you break it down, but a little bit is good, right? So I'm just going to add in a serving of collagen, so 4 tablespoons of this particular collagen powder. I'm just going to kind of mix this in a bit. I'm going to set it on low for 8 hours. We're not going to let it go for 8 hours. I'm just going to give everything a good mix in here. And come dinner time, we will be all set. Really making sure that that rice is getting mixed up and it's not clumping together. All right. Set it on there and let it do its thing. Another thing I'm going to do to try and use up some ingredients is make some whole wheat bread. So I have a bag here of all-purpose and a bag of whole wheat. And so whole wheat bread is actually usually a 50-50 of all-purpose and whole wheat. And so I also found these while cleaning the pantry mess. So I figured I would use these for our yeast today. So I'm going to make 2 loaves, and that will use up this yeast. I think since the last time I bought these packets, that's when I started switching over to like buying yeast more in bulk and just storing it in a mason jar. So that is one reason why I only have a couple of these left. So I'm just going to use these up again, gets things out. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I want to add a little bit of sugar. Actually, every year, one of my goals is to get away from refined sugar. So to get away from things like cane sugar. And so I have just a little bit left here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use that. Usually I would use honey or maple syrup in the bread, but I'm just going to start kind of picking away at the sugar and get rid of it. We can always try again, right? So I'm going to do just a teaspoon of sugar. Also going to do a teaspoon of salt. Going to use, this is like really good olive oil. We're going to do like a 1/4 cup. And this really is more for dressings and things like that. But this particular bottle, I really like the squeeze top, but it's leaking all over my counter. So I would like to use that up as well. And I think we're going to make that happen with our breads today. Okay, so we've got some fat in there with the olive oil. We've got salt, sugar, yeast, water. Yeah, okay, let's get our flours in. So I'm just gonna cut these in half. This is about what I'll need. So let's see, I've got 838 grams. So I am going to go for 415-ish of all-purpose in here. And I'm just gonna like put a bit in, weigh it again, put a bit in, weigh it again. Also trying to not like make a whole bunch of dishes. Okay, almost there. All right, that's probably good. And then I've got 619 of whole wheat, so I'm going to do about 3/8 this. And we actually have some bread put to the side. So these are just going to go into the freezer once they're made. I'm not even planning on keeping them out today, which is wild. A little bit more. All right, perfect. Woo! Okay, and we're making a mess. Okay, got our dough hook. And let this go. We might need to add more water because it is winter. It's dry. It is so dry here this morning. My skin is super dry. My hair has been really frizzy. So we might have to add some more water. It's just kind of one of those things you gotta play by ear a little bit. And give it probably a quarter cup more water. That's why it's so important, especially with baking things, that you kind of do it and do it often, because you're going to get to know what's right and what's wrong. Because one bread recipe can work great in the summer and then have it not work again in the winter just because of the moisture in the air. So it's really important to be looking more at the dough, understanding the dough versus the recipe. That way you can look at something and say, oh, needs a little bit more water. Whole wheat does take a little bit longer to absorb water as well, so that's something to keep in mind. I'm adding water, but I'm not adding a ton because it is going to take a little bit for it to soak up and get fully hydrated. Okay, I've had this kneading for about 8 to 10 minutes. So I'm going to take it out now. Bring it together on a clean countertop here. Yeah, it's nice and soft. Probably could have gone for a couple more minutes. I have to be careful with this KitchenAid. Definitely does not like to handle dough in the same way that my commercial mixer does. And it moves all around. Like, I can't walk away from what I'm doing because the entire thing just moves. Okay, so I've got our dough in here. She looks great. I'm going to spray a piece of plastic wrap and put it over the top of that and set it in a warm place so that it can rise. But before I do that, I'm going to start mixing this next batch because I don't even need to do any real measuring. I had that water all pre-portioned. Adding in our next packet of yeast here. Two scoops of sugar. 2 scoops of salt. I'm going to use up the rest of this olive oil. And then we're going to pour in the rest of our flour since we had weighed it and we were just splitting it in half. Okay. All right, a few more things gone, right? So I get this mixing, clean up this area, and then we'll move on to potatoes. Onion powder, garlic salt, oregano, dill. That's all I've put on there, and I'm just putting it into the skillet with some bacon grease. And then we're going to let it cook for about 5 minutes or so with the skin side up. And then I'm going to flip it, and then we're going to put a little bit of lemon on it. I'm going to see if maybe I have some actual lemon so I could cut that and put it on, but we're going to let it sear and get nice and crispy in this bacon fat. It's going to be delicious. Okay, so I have all of these potatoes that I'm doing. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get them. I'm trying to figure things out, okay? I have a slow cooker. It's like a typical, I think like 6-quart or something like that. But then I also have this roaster oven. I have some butternut squash and acorn squash that I was going to put into the roaster oven, but I don't think that all these potatoes are going to fit in my slow cooker. But if I put all the potatoes in the roaster oven, they're not, I don't think the squash is going to fit in the slow cooker. So I don't really know what to do. I guess what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to finish getting all these peeled, see what I can get in the slow cooker potato wise, and hopefully then get the squash into the roaster oven. I'm going to give these ones a quick wash. I wasn't going to cut them, but I think maybe if I give them a rough cut, I might be able to fit a few more into the slow cooker. So I guess that's what I'm doing here. I think that my plan is going to be just to make these all into like a mashed potato. I think that's my plan. Because there's no way, even with my family of 8, there's no way that we're going to be able to go through this much potato in 1 week. So I think what I need to do is make something with them and then get it in the freezer. Because we also have this rice too. I don't know, a couple of my boys really like mashed potatoes. My biggest boy, he really likes mashed potatoes. So maybe he would devour these. He is a teenager now, so, you know, they're gonna eat me out of house and home soon. My daughter likes mashed potatoes too, so maybe we would go through all of this, but also they get kind of tired of having the same thing over and over, so I can always make a tray of mashed potatoes and keep them in the freezer. That would be fine. My husband's downstairs fixing the wood stove flue, the chimney part. So if you hear any banging around, that's what that is. We'll need to put some salt and oil in here, or some bacon grease. Probably can do some bacon grease. Be a bit of liquid in here just from them being washed. ended up not eating my chia pudding mixture. It wasn't solidified yet or thickened yet. And my husband came home from doing a dump run. He was hungry, so I ended up just cooking some salmon for us to have for breakfast. So that was nice. I still have a kiwi that I need to eat and get in. Still working on my second cup of coffee. It's actually almost lunchtime now. We've got to get the kids at 3. Yeah, all the potatoes are not going to fit in here, but that's okay. Maybe what I'll do with the red ones is get them cleaned and do some kind of like home fries. That'd be nice. I can kind of prep those by cutting them into small cubes and then boiling them, and then I could freeze them like that, and then all I would have to do is whoops, there's one. All I would have to do is then fry the cubes in a skillet on the morning that we actually want them. So I think that's what I'm going to do with the red potatoes. These were all golden, yellow, white potatoes, mixture of them. I'm going to just get some salt over these. This bacon fat isn't super salty, which is funny because the bacon that it came from is definitely salty, but this particular bacon fat is not. So adding the salt on top of the potatoes isn't an issue. Alright, now we're just going to let this go, make sure that lid is on nice and tight. Okay, I am going to wash these, wash them really well. Looks like maybe there's some dirt on this one. Yep, I'm just going to take a soapy sponge and make sure these are completely clean. I sent my friend Jamarel a message to double check how I'm supposed to do these in the roaster oven. I don't know if I need to cut the ends off or pierce them at all. So for right now, I'm just going to pop them into the roaster. This one's feeling kind of soft. I'm thinking that one of the things I want to make, I'm going to end up pureeing all of this together, is my plan. The acorn squash and the butternut squash, and making a mascarpone puree. Excuse me. Making a mascarpone puree from it. I love using appliances that we have, very set it and forget it style. I might just cut the tips off of these where the stems are. because I really don't know. I don't know if they're supposed to be cut. All right, that one's done. So we've got rice going, we've got squash going, we've got some potatoes for mashed potatoes going. We've got some bread proofing. So that's going to be ready soon. One of them is just about ready. I'm going to do exactly what I said I was going to do. Imagine that. Okay, we're going to slice these into bite-sized pieces. I'm just going to toss them into this bowl, and then I'm going to give them a rinse after. I'm going to cut off any sore spots that I might see. And then we're going to boil them. I think that's going to be the plan. That's going to be it. Make sure to cut off any of the eyes. Okay, this whole wheat loaf is ready. So we need to plop it out, shape it, and get it into the pan. I'm just going to try and make it about as wide as the pan. And then roll it. Tuck those ends under a little bit and then pull back. And then I kind of pat it down a little bit just to kind of encourage some of that dough to go into the corners. And that one is going to sit and rise a little bit more before we put it into the oven. All right, we're gonna let these kind of dry, cool down any excess water after I've like strained it. That should evaporate here as it cools. And then I think I'm gonna separate these into smaller containers and then freeze them just like this. That way on days that I want to make some home fries, all I've got to do is thaw the potatoes, get some bacon grease and seasonings on them, and then can kind of fresh fry them in the skillet. I think that's probably the best idea here. All right, so we've got these squashes that are ready to be peeled and pulled off, and yeah, okay. My head is not doing great things. All right, let's get these to the cutting board and take them apart. So I did get a hold of my friend Jamarelle, and her link to her YouTube channel, in case you're not familiar with her, will be down in the description below. I had already stuck the squash in there by the time I got a hold of her. And so as you can see, some of the squash is burnt in places, like on that acorn squash, you can really see it. That's because I did not have the rack in the bottom to start. So when she told me what to do, she said, make sure that if your thing came with a rack, to put the rack in and then put the squash on the rack, and doesn't require any liquid in there or anything. Also doesn't require you to cut anything. She did say to pierce it to allow steam to come out, whatnot. For future reference, for myself, the butternut squash wasn't a big deal, but the acorn squash had quite a bit of like seeds and really stringy parts. So for future reference, I think I will maybe cut the acorn squash in half if I do that again, and take the seeds out, like scoop it out while it's raw, and then put it into the, I keep wanting to call it a slow cooker. It's not a slow cooker. Whatever the thing is, I can't think of the name of it right now. And it was a little cumbersome trying to take the skin off afterwards, but honestly, way easier to take the skin off once it's been cooked versus trying to peel it before putting it in, because if you've ever dealt with butternut squash, you know that the skin on butternut squash is a pain in the rear end. Okay, so I don't know that this is exactly how it's supposed to happen. I've never made this before, but I'm gonna put half of this squash in here, and then I have 2 mascarpone. All right, so I've got a whole thing of mascarpone here, 8 ounces, and I'm going to put the whole thing in here, I think. I want to get this thinned out a little bit. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit of maple syrup in here. And I'm going to put a little bit of salt in. Okay. Okay, this is quite smooth. That's pretty good. I actually think I'm gonna try blending the rest of it and then combining it. I think 1 thing of mascarpone is enough. and the maple syrup was a little much. So hoping that this will kind of tone it down a little. All right, look at these. These are super beautiful. Dark green. They're just really, really pretty. Okay, going to, how am I going to do this? So I'm a little embarrassed to say I got these, they're not super cubes because that's brand specific, but I got these like freezer cubes, these silicone freezer cubes from Costco quite a while ago, like months ago. You'll probably look back and see some of my Costco grocery hauls and be able to see where it is that I purchased them. And I literally have not used them since I bought them. And I think I was on TikTok and I saw people talking about using them and loving them. And so this actually kind of worked out perfect because I am really the only one that's going to eat this, but I love butternut squash. So I figured this was actually probably a great use for them for things that like only I'm going to eat or maybe only my husband's going to eat. It's not a family favorite, but I can pop one of those out, and I mean they're frozen now. They've been in my freezer. So I could pop these all out of the trays, put them into a Ziploc bag, and then put them back in the freezer, and then just take them out, one out whenever I want one for lunch or for dinner, something like that. So I think these are going to become kind of my new favorite thing, especially since we live in a house where, yes, we're feeding a ton of people, but we don't necessarily eat the same. And so I think if you are in that kind of situation as well with your family, where you all kind of have different preferences and whatnot, these could actually be a really great investment for you. Okay, and so we've got our other potatoes here. Ooh, I'm just gonna check and see. Oh, they still need some time, I think. Maybe I need to put a little liquid in there so that it has something to steam. They don't look great when they're unpeeled. This is my first time doing this, so. All right, I'm gonna add a little bit of water in there just to kind of create a little more steam. And I know those potatoes didn't look the greatest. The coloration is just from oxidization. Not a big deal. They are still fine to eat. Obviously, I think what happened with the rice and the potatoes actually is that I didn't have the heat on high. I was a little afraid of burning both things. So like the rice should have been on high from the get-go, and it would have only taken like an hour, because later in the day I checked it and it was not done. So I had to crank up the heat. And same with these potatoes. If I had added a bit of water and put them on high, I think we would have been able to get a smoother potato at the finish. Okay, so now we've got this slow cooker here of chunky mashed potatoes. I'm not going to be able to get it as smooth as I usually would, but that's okay. Sometimes we have chunky mashed potatoes. So this we'll just let cool down and put into maybe a casserole dish or two. Probably gonna split this up at least into two and then get it wrapped in the freezer. Okay, and here's the brown rice. Some of it is a little soft, some of it's al dente. Overall, really nice flavor. This is a really great way to be making a whole bunch of it, using it for rice bowls, things like that. So I'm going to put a bunch of it into this Tupperware and put it in the freezer, and then the other portion will stay in the fridge. All right, so we've got all the cubed potatoes. These are set for the freezer. Our whole wheat bread here is looking lovely. I'm going to cut into it in just a moment. Okay, so to be honest, I forgot that it was in the oven. So it did get a little overcooked here, but it's still like nice and kind of tender inside. You can see on the crust where it's overcooked a little bit. And I still am going to wrap these and put them in the freezer after a bite, of course. That's whole wheat bread. Thanks for hanging out with me the past couple days. I hope you got some inspiration here in the kitchen and for starting off the new year using up some things in your home that you already have. Save on that budget, save time from transporting things to and from the grocery, and, you know, get a little creative in the kitchen. We'll see you in the next video. Bye!